This is Kanzenshuu, the podcast, episode 468 for the week of March 10th, 2019. Hello, welcome back to Kanzenshuu,
the podcast,
an extension of the all-encompassing Dragon Ball fan site.
Kanzenshuu.
Yes, sir, we cover anything and everything Dragon Ball in hopes of enlightening and a little bit of entertaining. Julian, hello, sir.
Hello.
How are things?
Doing pretty good. So I'm going to Japan later this month. And,
yeah, it's coming soon.
It's kind of sneaking up on me. I've been trying to get back in shape so I can chase my kids around and not be out of breath constantly, because you do a lot more moving around with your feet in Japan compared to elsewhere. And I would kind of let myself go a little while with my studies and stuff. So,
hey, it's America.
Leave your body image at the door. Yeah,
exactly.
Anyhow, but I think I'm getting back there. I'm making progress. Working hard. I live at the gym these days.
That's Julian. My name is Mike. You may see me around as Vegito EX. You may see him around as Saya Jedi, but Mike and Julian is just fine. We are back here again at it on the podcast. This is one of those, it's 2019. Movie's coming out on home video. There's a promotional anime airing. There is a continuation of Dragon Ball Super running in manga format in VJump. There's all this exciting stuff going on. So, of course, what we're going to do is go look at a couple random pages from Weekly Jump in 1995.
Of course.
Absolutely. I would expect nothing less of us, and I hope the audience would expect nothing less of us. We have a jam-packed episode for you here today, this evening, this week, whenever it is that you're listening to us. I'm going to start things off with the briefest of brief recaps from Toy Fair 2019, which I spent like under 2 hours at a couple of weeks ago. And then we're going to dive back into Dragon Ball Fusions. No, not the Nintendo 3DS game from 2016, which I believe desperately needs a sequel, but something from, as I mentioned, 1995 that I think may have served as a bit of inspiration for that game. A fusion contest, a fusion design contest, actually, for fans back there in Japan during, actually toward the end of the original serialization there. So that's what's on tap for you this episode. Julian, before we get into all that, though, like I said, Toy Fair. So I didn't ask you to come down again to go to the Javits Center again for the third time in like almost as many months. I know it's been a little bit since the last one, but
just to spend half an hour there. But it's the time that we spend together is precious, Mike.
Exactly. I agree. Thank you. I'm glad you agree. No, I spent a little longer than half an hour there. It was somewhere between 90 minutes and 2 hours. If all you're looking for is Dragon Ball stuff and a couple other little things there, that was basically it. I mean, there was a giant karaoke display in a Jeep somewhere. There's a giant floating Pikachu, every kind of doll that you can imagine. I think my favorite thing was the clear inflatable drum kit that a guy was just sitting at, I think drumming at for, I don't know, like 8 hours a day. But I was there just to check out the Dragon Ball stuff. I don't know, man. Like I mentioned when I put up all the pictures, like, we're going to talk about it on the podcast. And the more I got thinking about it, I'm going, I don't really know what it is I'm going to say, but, I went. I feel it's my duty to report on what was there, what I was excited about, what is coming out. So I'm kind of going to run down the big hits, at least in terms of feedback on the tweets that I sent out while I was there. Obviously, the big draw there was going to be the giant Bandai Namco booth or Bluefin booth. I think the deal is they bought a majority stake in Bluefin, so Bluefin is basically Bandai Namco themselves now at this point.
Yeah, didn't they also dissolve Banpresto and it's not gone, but it's been incorporated into one of their other toy things.
Right. That's super recent. Yeah, I just noticed that happened, and maybe we'll do a news post on that. I like to keep up with some of that, organizational stuff.
But that Gundam face mask logo was iconic. I hope they at least keep that.
Yeah, right. So I went on down there. That was obviously the biggest booth there. They had the giant Gundam. Speaking of Gundam, they had the giant Gundam. Big wall of everything that's available now and coming out soon. Trunks' Time Machine was there. I was very excited about that. just lots of cool stuff, but the things that are upcoming, the things that are behind glass, I think were the most exciting to people. Some of the molds that we saw for new figures, specifically the Dragon Ball Heroes stuff. We had both Gogeta and Vegito in Super Saiyan 4. There was Ultra Instinct Son Goku. There was Vegito Blue. Those really got a lot of interest and attention from the tweets there. These were those grayscale things, like these are the coming soon. And
so they're sculpted but not painted.
Yeah, exactly. And they were all written as Super Saiyan. The A and the I was reversed there. So someone didn't quite do their homework there at Bandai Namco. Other big favorites from the tweets was definitely the Anytime Zeno. So this is from Bandai. They are these cheap little blind bags. There's 8 collectible versions, and Zeno's just in different poses. I think one is like heads under the sheets and just, like arms outstretched and smiling. Just all the various Zeno Omni King poses that you see out there. So look for those out there. I think those will be a hit. And the biggest thing, the most attention, it's the little things in life, Julian. It's it's the Dragon Ball Z Premium 3D keychain from ABY Style, the fan experience. It's just a Dragon Radar. It's a keychain, but it's much larger than just a little trinket. I don't know, like a couple inches. It's cool. I don't know why, but maybe it's because that was the only thing I put a video up of, but people seem to really enjoy that. Again, that was from ABY Style, and I'll give them credit. ABY Style there, Judah spoke to there, I believe his name was Dave, basically the only one who gave me the time of day at any of the booths there. Bandai Namco, I'll just say it, couldn't care less. Didn't seem like they had anyone out there to speak to anyone. The instant I walked in and showed interest in Dragon Ball at ABY Style here, they were, I don't know if it was just like, oh God, someone's actually talking to us and not just going straight to Bandai Namco. So that was cool. Got to see everything they had on display. Put up a couple photos from there. So if you're looking forward to this stuff, I mean, it's all coming. Check through the photos. I will link the Twitter thread in the show notes for this here episode. But Julian, from all the previous conventions that we've gone to over the last few months, like half a year or so, we kind of keep seeing these rolling designs of figures as they're coming on out. There's some really good stuff out there. You can drop a lot of money real easy.
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of the what is it, the World Figure Coliseum, where they get different sculptors to quote unquote compete for the honor of having a figure of their own design come out. There's some really good ones. There's one of Goku dressed as Sun Wukong from Journey to the West. Right. There was a very nice one that I think is coming out in the near future of Goku dressed when he shows up for the 23rd Budokai.
With
his umbrella and the turban. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that one. I might have to get that myself.
Nice. I'm just opening up. I grabbed a couple of the flyers and program books. What is this? This is Bandai Namco's or Bandai's Shokugan kind of overall line of everything they got going on.
Yeah. So the Shokugan is like the toy that comes with some sort of food, usually.
Yeah, traditionally.
Usually candy.
But they'll also just sell you the toys now. They explain that it's originally refers to a combination of high-quality, inexpensive toys paired with a piece of candy or gum sold on confectionery shelves. Blah, 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 blah. Basically, they're saying that they're taking that style and rolling with it.
Things I have to keep my kids away from.
There you go. So there's the Sikshi R. There's the 66 Action Dash Dragon Ball Super. They're calling it 66 Action because it stands 66 millimeters tall, about 2.5 inches. There's the Adverge figures. I know these have been getting a lot of attention lately. These are about 2 inches tall as well, where they're deformed, but they also kind of like retain a proportion to them at the same time. There's Scouters coming. There's no sound version of Scouters, Dragon Ball styling, Shoto Dragon Ball. There's a lot of, sorry, I'm smacking the microphone here with everything. There's a lot of good stuff coming out. So again, just be on the lookout for it. It's kind of impossible for us to cover all of the merchandise, like the figures, to the extent that we want to while we do all the other stuff we do. So obviously we can't be the best resource for it, but know that it interests us, and we try to do what we can with it. And I think checking out Toy Fair was a good opportunity for that.
Absolutely. With a franchise as active as it is right now, we try and cover as much as we possibly can, but stuff is going to slip through the cracks. So it's nice to have one of these dedicated events where we can sort of get an overview of everything in, you know?
Right. It was nice. I say it was nice that I went alone, so I didn't have to deal with anyone else with me. So I could just wander at my leisure and take photos of whatever I wanted.
I'll assume that's not a veiled insult.
No, of course not. Julian, before we get to the main topic, we've kind of been skipping over news lately on the podcast. There's been big things, but they end up being kind of like the topic. And we're not going to do a full news topic this episode. I'm kind of thinking maybe we do a news topic catch up because there's enough stories that I want to do more than just give the recap of them. But two things I wanted to hit at least this episode while it's still timely. And I say that our dirty little secret is that I've already let loose on Twitter anyway. We're recording this a week ahead of time, so who knows what's going to come out in the next week. But the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie has been finally announced for Japan. Julian, it's coming like 2 months after the American release. That is crazy. Never in my wildest imagination could I have foreseen this.
That is pretty nuts. So I do have a rundown of the features that the Japanese release is going to have, if you'd like me to read them out.
Yeah, let's do the highlights. There's a regular edition, and then there's a special limited edition on both Blu-ray and DVD, and they come with the respective things, just on the different formats. So hit us up. So what's the limited edition got for us?
Okay, so the limited edition is going to come packaged with a special outside cover, which is going to be a brand new illustration by not the character designer, but the animation supervisor Naohiro Shintani, and it says now printing, so I guess they're going to keep that secret for a little bit longer, as well as special digipack packaging, whatever that means. But in addition to that, it's going to have not only the disc with the movie itself, which will be the same as the regular edition, which will have both 5.1 surround audio as well as a secondary, what do you call it, like audio assistance for the visually impaired, where
like the audio description track
things. They'll have that as well, also in Japanese, I assume. There will also be a bonus DVD. It's a DVD for both the Blu-ray and the DVD versions that will come with features including the a video of the premiere at the Nippon Budokan that was held in November, the special onstage greeting to commemorate the opening of the film in December, as well as a number of TV spots and promotional footage. I should say that the main disc comes with a trailer collection, according to the stats, which is also going to be on the regular edition. And there's also going to be several pack-in bonuses. There's going to be a Cyan button badge set, a 32 postcard set, an original card folder, which I don't know if it's meant to hold the postcards or if it's for something else, and a deluxe 60-page booklet, which intrigues me greatly. I'm maybe hoping to see some more interview content in there. Especially if it's different from what we've already got.
I know. There's so much. I mean, you say that, but even some of the things that you and Stacy haven't gotten to yet, there's some good tidbits in there, of course. I'm looking at my Amazon Japan cart right now, and I haven't clicked submit on it yet. But the Amazon limited edition of the limited edition is clocking in at 11,394 yen. So June's going to be a busy month.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I've got some auctions that I've won in Japan, and I'm waiting for the proxy to get them all together so they can ship them to me.
Yep. Well, at this point, you might as well just go pick them up in person. But
well, you know, I figure since I'm here and I'm going to be having them in the United States, it makes more sense to have them sent over so I don't have to lug them around.
Right.
You know?
That's true. They're coming here eventually. Right.
That said, I am going to be going to Mandarake in Osaka to see what I can find.
Damn right you are. We'll talk more about those magazines coming up briefly. So there's that. So in addition to the Broly movie coming out, obviously Funimation and Toei announced that they're going to do a 30th anniversary collection of Dragon Ball Z. Except maybe they're not going to do a 30th anniversary collection of Dragon Ball Z.
Yes.
We got the first details about this in the Licensed Global Trade magazine that came out back in mid-February. Seemed like the kind of thing where it's a trade magazine. They don't necessarily anticipate that general fandom is going to see it and read it. Thankfully, we had some eagle-eyed folks, one in particular on our forum, who pointed it out to us. And then we got all the juicy details in there about, they're going to announce a new edition of Dragon Ball Z for this year. They're going to bring the Symphony Tour over here to America. And Toonami's got some stuff coming on. They're going to do the Macy's Day Parade again. They're going to come back to Comic-Con. Like, they outlined everything.
Wait, Macy's Day?
Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, sorry. Have I gone that extra step that they hope I would go to? It's just Macy's Day now.
Pretty much. That's what it's for, right?
We have Macy's Day. We have Hallmark Day. What else do we have?
We have Candy Maker Day in February.
Funimation and Toei formally announced this. You can read the full rundown on our website. But basically, we have no real details about this that have been publicly stated other than what little information there is, which is basically they're going to do what seems to be the Dragon Ball Z TV series in a new edition. There happen to be 2 Dragon Balls in their visual imagery for it that just happened to be the 4-star Dragon Ball next to the 3-star Dragon Ball. They appear to be weaponizing our own fandom back against us as marketing. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that.
The way it was meant to be seen.
Yeah, I said, I'm just absolutely dying to see how on earth they can ever possibly market a 3rd attempt of a Blu-ray release of the Dragon Ball Z TV series. Like, show me what you got at this point. If this is how you want to start it, I'm all ears. Anyway, except they're not necessarily going to make it. They are requiring 2,500 effectively pre-orders of the set, which haven't actually started yet before they commit to actually making it. This is one of those things that I want to spend more time talking about rather than just giving the rundown. I think you got a little bit about how I feel about it right there in the rundown, but we want to at least acknowledge it because it's a big announcement that will certainly have more coming our way in the very near future, huh?
Oh, yes. I'm sure there's going to be a lot to talk about in the near future about that.
Yepers. So, that all being said, now that we've talked about Toy Fair and covered a couple key news stories, Julian, let us dive into the past. Many, many years, probably beyond the point that some of our listeners were even born. We are back to 1995. Let us go. I've talked about this a little bit. Some of the things that I'm working for on the wiki are the most absurd things that I can think of are the things that I want to work on. Everyone has their own area of expertise and interest, and mine is really whatever I feel like. So this is kind of what I'm doing. No, in all honesty, what I enjoy working on right now for the wiki, in addition to all the other things I do on the website, is it's the minutia that I know, but that I also know and see doesn't have good documentation, really in any language out there. That really seems to be what you and I are all about, and I appreciate
of course,
that you're into this as well, because it means I get to spend your money, and we all benefit. As you know what? Everyone's money is everyone's money. It's
okay. Fair enough. You guys do pay for the server costs and whatnot. So.
Yeah, we do what we can. Anyway, so I mentioned Dragon Ball Fusions. I loved that on the 3DS back in 2016, so much that I played through it in Japanese and then immediately replayed it through in English when it came out. I haven't done that too often. So I wanted to do pages on some of the it's like random henchmen and books that you see out there in the game, character number 762. Who is it? It's not Yamoshi, it's Yashimo. So I wanted to document them. And some of those characters are the ones that, there's nothing about. Who is this Bacon character? Who's this Yashimo character? Why are they interesting, if they're even interesting? And since I own all of the necessary material, which is, the games, the guide, all the magazines as the game was coming out, showing the game itself and the character designs, it just seemed like a natural choice for me. That led me to two characters in particular that I felt needed more attention, and that I was excited about, writing about and for, and that was Piridin and Gohanks. So I thought, yeah, Piridin is easy, right? We know he's actually a design from Toriyama in 1995 in Weekly Jump. Is a character design showing what could have been from a scene in the anime where the two characters show off the technique for Goten and Trunks. His design has been republished a few times even, the Daizenshu and the Chozenshu. But why was this design made? What did it accompany? A lot of people don't actually know where it came from, especially if you just see his design there in the Daizenshu. And that also ties in, believe it or not, with Gohanks, who you might think debuted in Dragon Ball Heroes and Dragon Ball Fusions back in 2016, but that is not the whole story. So, Julian, we are going to tell the full, complete story here of Piridin and Gohanks, as well as some other characters. So, Julian, take me back to 1995. We are starting here in Weekly Shonen Jump, 1995, issue number 13. This was published February 28th in 95, and that was alongside Dragon Ball Manga Chapter 508. So we are very close to the end of the series here.
Yes, and in fact, we're already at the point where both forms of fusion have already been introduced and used.
Right.
So we've seen Gotenks and Goku and Vegeta have already fused into and out of Vegito.
And of course, over in the TV series, which is lagging behind a little bit, this is what they show there on the page, where initially we have Goku and Piccolo show off the technique, but then Goku has to leave. And then over in the anime, a little bit of filler. Following up on that, we have Piccolo and Kuririn show off the technique, the fusion dance once more. And this was kind of the basis of this showcase, this contest here in Weekly Shonen Jump. So what do we have going on here?
Okay, so this is the Anime J-Wing section of Weekly Shonen Jump from 1995, number 13. So this was their section that focuses on the animated adaptations of various Weekly Jump and other Jump series.
I think people may have seen this, at least in our content recently, of the Gogeta versus Vegito from old Shonen Jump here as well.
And this just happens to be from around the time that movie 12 was also coming out, so you have Gogeta in theaters.
Yeah, there's a lot of fusion stuff going on right now.
They decided to hold a contest. In fact, it was their first ever reader participation contest, where they would have the readers of Shonen Jump think up their own fusions and send them in. So getting back to the example of Piridin, as the illustration is known, they have an example here from Toriyama himself, saying he would go about it by choosing two characters who couldn't possibly fuse in the mainline series by picking Piccolo and Kuririn, who happened to give a demonstration of the fusion pose in episode 249 of Dragon Ball Z. He comes up with this character, who is named just in the blurb here, and we don't know if it comes from Toriyama himself, but it's the only name we've got. So Piccolo and Kuririn, could he be named Piridin, perhaps? And so the legend was born.
Yeah.
And he's this weird character who combines the traits of both Piccolo and Kuririn.
Yeah, and he's wearing the traditional fusion vest there as well. He's got a great pose that we're going to see many years in the future as well. He looks great.
And then they're hyping up the prizes that you can win here with Trunks and Goten talking about it. But it's transparently like talking about what the contest is. Goten fusion is a really hot topic right now. The 500th Cardos is us as Super Saiyan 3, and in the latest movie, our dads also fused, don't they? That's why Anime J-Wing is accepting entries for the fusions of any two Dragon Ball characters. And if they come up with an interesting fusion, then they can get some awesome prizes. We're waiting for your super fun fusions. And then it gives a definition of fusion about
what it actually is. Yeah.
Is and how to do it. And if you screw up, you get failures like the scrawny and fat versions of Gotenks. And then they give you these fabulous prizes, could be yours.
Now, spell this out a little bit, because this is kind of a big deal. We're past 500 chapters, and we also have about 500 Cardass cards.
Yes, so at this point, for the Dragon Ball Super Battle series or something like that, for the Cardass cards, they'd had like 12 different phases up to this point, and they'd come up with 500 different designs. And so in celebration of that milestone, they are going to give the lucky first place winner a binder, a unique card DOS binder, not sold in stores, filled with all 500 cards from phases 1 to 12 of the Card DOS Super Battle series, with the cover signed by Akira Toriyama himself. And then 1,000 other winners would receive a 51 by 36 centimeter special Super Jumbo card DOS.
So this is where the contest comes about. So then we get all the details about submitting their fusions. They had to draw it on the back of a postcard and send in their name and info and everything. And they had to have it postmarked by March 13th. So it was a pretty quick turnaround here. And then the results would be published in the number 19 issue, which is going to be released on April 11th. And then they also show off Gotan, who we did actually see a kind of theoretical view of there in the series.
Yes, but I think this is the first time he's named, and he appears again with this name in, what is it, Budokai 2 for the PlayStation 2?
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, and we got two variations on the character in there. The main one there is the one you see in the series. So that's all that information, and it was very exciting. Like you said, we're past 500 chapters, but fusion's a big deal. We saw everything in the manga. We're hitting it big time in the TV series. The movies got it going on. Fusion is the big deal here in early 95.
They're even having they had these two like actual live events called the Dragon Ball Z Fusion Tournament. One of them was in Tokyo at the Tokyo department store Toyoko location. I guess they have like two separate stores in Shibuya. And then on the same day, at the same times in Fukuoka, at the Fukuoka Rekishi no Machi, or History Town theme park, which is no longer with us, with 2 rounds each, starting at 11:30 and 3:30, with not only information about the movie that was coming out, but also an event for kids to test how well they'd mastered the fusion pose, as well as a live show with characters like one of those stage shows where they wear not only the costumes but the heads.
Right.
Think the reenactment of the Cell games from the Dragon Ball Z anime.
Well, Julian, that was the story of Piridin, and that takes us to, indeed, the Weekly Shonen Jump 1995 number 19 issue, again, which was published April 11th, 95. So we go from the 13 issue February 28th to the 19 issue April 11th. We have the results. We have all these great submissions. There's so much on display here. Some of them are fun. Some of them are funny. Some of them are borderline offensively hysterical, I guess you could say, at the same time.
Yeah.
But there is great trivia in here. It's not just, oh, here are some cool designs, but man, the stuff that's in here is historically interesting and important to the series. So why don't you give us a little rundown? Let's start with the grand prize winner. Julian, we have the fusion of Cell and Kame Sennin, the Turtle Sage himself. This is Seru Sennin.
Yes, so this was the top prize out of a total 12,792 entries. They got that many in that short a span of time.
That's awesome. That is a lot more than are in Dragon Ball Fusions. I'm sure there were a lot of duplicates in there.
Yes. So this is Cell and Kame Sennin, Seru Sennin, by one Kazuhiro Terashita, age 16 at the time, from Hokkaido. So let's see, if they were 16 in March of 1995, that means they would be, what, 40 now?
Yeah, not too far off. Kind of contemporary here.
Yes. So the glory? Question mark, of the grand prize is clinched by Cell Sennin, who earned points not only for the quality of the combination here, but for the catch copy that goes along with it. Apparently, he only absorbs women. It's enough to make even Goten and Trunks go pale.
Oh, man. So it's basically Kame Sennin with Cell's gonna I don't know, his Pope hat.
Sort of, yeah. So it's like a green version of Kame Sennin with the sunglasses, with the
beard, the mustache,
head thing, and the beard and the mustache and the tail.
Yeah. It's kind of horrific, but it's also amazing at the same time. So yeah, this is totally, it's the design, it's the questionable write-up at the same time. But I mean, that is right in line with the series for sure.
Yes. So that is the top spot for the competition. Right
so
there.
What we're saying here is young little Kazuhiro, a 16-year-old, won an original autograph from Toriyama here.
Yeah, plus all those cards and the binder. It's pretty cool.
Nice. All right, someone track
I
him
wonder
down.
if he's still holding on to that. Yeah,
Exactly.
You know, if you ever see that pop up on Yahoo Auctions or eBay, you know who sold it, right?
Exactly. Track it all the way back. So there are far more designs than just the winning design here. Let's go straight down the page.
Yes. So they give these silly other prizes to, I guess you'd call them among the runners up. So among the 1,000 other people who got the other prize, this one is it's got some flavor, oddly enough. Prize. Nandaka myo ni aji ga aru desho. It's Pochi, which is the fusion of Mr. Popo and Chichi by Tomiko Muramatsu, age 15, from Yamanashi Prefecture. So Miss Muramatsu's design here is it's basically Chichi, except she's pudgy and round and has Mr. Popo's lips and eyes.
It's really scary.
Yeah, and there's a little catch copy next to it. Koreja aisare nebe. I won't be loved like this. But they say that yes, Pochi is like it's like a typical name for a pet dog, like naming a dog in English like
Rover,
or Rex or something like that.
Yeah.
Supposedly it comes from the French word petit, like little thing, but I don't know if that's true or not.
Gotcha. Is that kind of the equivalent of Tama for a cat?
Kind of, yeah. So if a cat is named Tama, the dog is probably Pochi.
All right, well, moving on, we have some more kind of like made-up prizes for the runners-up here. The Super Nostalgic Prize. I like this. It's a very kind of out there, don't really know where you're going with this, but they threw in a nice little touch there.
It's Goku plus Gregory, Gokuguri, I guess, by Shinichi Akitsuki, age 15 at the time, from Kanagawa Prefecture. So they mention in the write-up that it's a fusion of Goku and the TV original character designed by Toriyama-sensei, Gregory. The numbers 5 and 9 on the backs of his hands, which are Go and Ku, are a nice, in the sort of ironic sense, touch.
He's really scary. I mean, there's something going for a lot of these, and that's they're horrifying. I think we move on from the horrifying. Well, maybe there's kind of one more really scary design as we go on, but
yes,
yeah, I think we need this one to show up again sometime. All right, moving on from the scary ones, we got the sexy prize here. Lots of people have done a design for this character over the years,
and it is interesting how they interpreted the fusion vest so it's not just flapping open.
Yeah, very cool, very cool.
So this is Bulma plus Chichi equals Buluchi by Shiho Shinmoto or Nimoto or Aramoto. It's hard to tell because it doesn't give the pronunciation. Age 19 from Osaka Prefecture. So she would be, 43-ish? So there were plenty of fusions of these two named Chiruma or Buruchichi, but the top of that bunch was Buruchi, which ticks the good parts. I don't know what they see in that, but okay, from both names. And they have her wield a ladle as a weapon, which they also found as a good point. And neither Goku nor Vegeta will be able to defeat her.
This is a very, very solid design. This is someone who knows art. I mean, a 19-year-old, but still.
Yes, so they're older. They probably have a lot more drawing experience than some of them. But yeah, it actually looks like it could be a solid fighter, although I don't know how the ladle would work in combat.
All right, moving on. We have the Nice Idea prize. We have Goku plus Kamisenin, Gosenin.
Yes, by Yoshitaka Takahashi, age 13, which I believe
a young one,
the youngest of the bunch. Yes, he's only 38 this year, from Hokkaido.
Again, these are my people.
So they liked the name, but what really got their attention was the design, which is in the style of a Cardos card. So, and the artist had a good grasp of the character's traits, and it's just fun to look at.
Yeah, I love it. I love how they made a card out of it. Of everything that's submitted here, it stands out. They went the extra mile there, especially such a young age. Very, very cool.
And so the next one up we have...
All right, so we're back to the scary here.
This? Yes, Nanda Koryasho. So this is a fusion of Tenshinhan and Bulma, which is Tenburuhan by Takashi Miwa, age 15, from Hiroshima. Contrary to Buruchi above, with the sexy prize winner, there are a lot of entries that fuse just the weird aspects of each character, and this one is representative of that group. You get a great shock from looking at it. It's scary enough to appear in your dreams. So what you have is basically like male pattern baldness, female Tenshinhan wearing a mini dress.
And the arms kind of like daintily out to the side.
Yes.
it's really weird. I mean, whatever floats your boat, man. I'm not judging here.
Yes. It raises a lot of interesting questions about what happens when people of two different genders fuse.
All right, Julian, moving on. We got a couple last good ones here. We're saving the best for last, but we have one before that. We have Even Boo Will Be Speechless prize awarded to the fusion of Piccolo plus Kakaroto.
Yes, it's Piccolo by Yo, or possibly Hiroshi Komachi, age 18, from Niigata Prefecture. So there were a lot of fusions of Piccolo and Goku, and which would seem like they'd end up being similar to Super Saiyan 3. The one that arranged the elements of both characters well was this one here. It's a mighty warrior who would leave even Majin Buu speechless. They do look like they'd be reasonably powerful.
And this is one that, I mean, again, we actually do see them demonstrate the fusion, so I'm kind of shocked that Toriyama never threw something into the mix here of his own.
But yeah, so that one is that. And now we come to the main event. I mean, it probably wouldn't have been seen that way at the time, but in hindsight, it's quite interesting.
So I mentioned earlier that this was kind of a two-parter for me. It was Piridin, who we already talked about and we know everything about. The other one I mentioned was Gohanks. Gohanks debuted in 2016 in Dragon Ball Fusions and Dragon Ball Heroes, right, Julian?
Not quite, actually. So this is the cool prize, and it goes to Gohan plus Teenage Trunks equals Gohanks by Kentaro Yabuki at the tender age of 15 from Okayama Prefecture. And yes, it is that Kentaro Yabuki, the artist behind such titles as Black Cat and Toraburu, which both ran in Weekly Shonen Jump. I don't even know if he's still doing the latter, but if it was in, I think, Jump Square.
So let's talk about what is seen here for this character design, and then we'll read a little something else.
Yes. So although it is Gohan and Trunks, and the way they phrase it makes me assume that it was a very common choice among the entrants. But the use of Teenage Trunks in this one caught their eye, and the costume was a fusion of both characters' outfits, which was well thought out. And they have no complaints about his coolness here. It's
a very cool design, kind of worthy of the cool prize, I think.
Yes, and they have a little caption of Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks going, "Whoa, I want to fight him."
Julian, the story for Yabuki kind of doesn't end here. We got a comment from him in the Dragon Ball Children pamphlet that accompanied the 7th Kanzenban in June 2003, because at that time we got an illustration from him, didn't we?
Yes, so with every odd volume of the Dragon Ball Kanzenban release, they had this little pamphlet, which was essentially there to promote upcoming merchandise. But on the other side, they would include an illustration and a short essay by a popular Jump author at the time. They had one for Kentaro Yabuki as well, and I'm bringing it up to see which one it was in. I believe it was also republished in Dragon Ball Landmark, one of the Kanzenban guidebooks.
Yeah, they didn't publish all of them, unfortunately, but I do want to say this one was included here. Julian, I have the quote up here in front of me, so why don't I just read it for you here? This is
okay.
Not the entirety of what he said, but we're pulling out the specific thing here. It says, "Speaking of which, my debut in Jump wasn't with my own manga, but with Dragon Ball. Around the end of my 3rd year in junior high, there was a fusion contest promotion in Jump where you had to create an original character by making any 2 characters from Dragon Ball do fusion. I fused together my favorite characters at the time, Teenage Gohan and Teenage Trunks, to create a character called Gohanks. I drew an illustration and sent it in. Then I got an award called the Cool Prize, and it ran relatively large in the color pages of Jump. That experience really moved me." It's such a great story. It was not just that it got published, but this is someone who went on to go create something on their own. And clearly, Dragon Ball has been an important part of their entire life. And not Dragon Ball alone didn't leave an impact on them, but this experience, this fusion contest, it's just such a cool story, man.
Yeah. And not only that, but the character did not end there.
No, it didn't. So this takes us to the future in 2016. So Dragon Ball Fusions, developed by Ganbarion, initially called Project Fusion, later renamed simply Dragon Ball Fusions, comes out in the 3DS. Initially in Japan, it did get an international localization. And you figure, all right, if we're going to fuse tons of characters together, where are we going to go with this? We have some from history that have kind of been unused. And one of the first characters they showed off was indeed Piridin in his original Toriyama pose with his arms kind of like up to the side doing the weird little hand thing. So Piridin is available actually twice in the game if you do the regular fusion dance. Not everyone can do the regular fusion dance in the game. I'll talk about the other form of fusion, but these two can in fact do it. As a direct reference to this in-game, if you have both of them on your team, you can fuse into Piridin during a battle. And he looks exactly like he did back then. So it's his formal debut there. It's great.
Awesome.
Now, in Dragon Ball Fusions, there are three kinds of fusion. There's the regular fusion. There is, I guess you could say there's four. There's the Potara fusion, because characters like Vegito do exist in the game. So there's the dance fusion, then the other characters are whatever. There's something new called EX fusion, which basically allows you to fuse any two characters together, asterisk. So any character has a certain number of and types of characters that they can fuse with. You can't just fuse anyone with anyone. So, for example, Kudiden can fuse with Gohan and create or is it Young Goku can fuse into Goribin, but also Kudiden and Piccolo can do EX fusion to do EX Piridin, who looks different. He's kind of like the flipped version. He looks like the other, flip the attributes of the characters. He's got the cape and the turban on as well. EX fusion characters aren't limited by anything, and you can unfuse them at your leisure later on.
Wow.
So that's a pretty cool character. But Gohanks was kind of the big one. Gohanks was a major character, not just in Dragon Ball Fusions, but in Dragon Ball Heroes. It was their kind of like big cross promotion. There were two versions of Gohanks that they made. There was a younger version, and then there was an older version. So the EX version of Gohanks is the fusion of the younger Gohan and then the younger present-day Trunks, using the Metamo ring from Fusions, the EX fusion. And the biography for him says, perhaps due to Gohan's influence, this super cool young fighter may be more mature than Gotenks. And then in addition, we have the future version of Gohanks, who's the result of the alternate older version of Gohan and Trunks, the master and student from a desperate future, and he sports a scar carved into his left eye, which is courtesy of Gohan. So we got those two characters there. When Dragon Ball Fusions came out on 3DS, there was a Dragon Ball Heroes card for the Gohanks EX version, for Dragon Ball Heroes for the arcade version that you could use. So they were just going back and forth with these two characters. It's just such a cool story. They don't acknowledge Yabuki's original design here, but I think it's important to note there is a history to that character. Gohanks did not technically debut in Dragon Ball Fusions and Dragon Ball Heroes. And I like to think, everything that we just talked about with the absurd fusions throwing people together, I think of someone like Chao-Han. I really feel like Ganbarion kind of, whether it was directly inspired by this or they got the idea and then went back and looked at some of these, this is just that. It's the spirit of Dragon Ball, really, really channeling Toriyama. Like, let's just be crazy. Let's just be whimsical. Let's be crazy. Let's know our characters. Let's put a fun spin on it. they really nailed it. I feel like they nailed it with the contest back in 95, and I feel like they nailed it there in 2016 in Dragon Ball Fusions. Gohanks continues to be a character there in Dragon Ball Heroes. He showed up for a chapter in Super Dragon Ball Heroes Dark Demon Realm mission in the manga there by Yoshitaka Nagayama. Again, it's such a cool story. I love this stuff. The fusions of these characters, Julian, we mentioned Gotan. I feel like Budokai 2 was this test bed of it. That's where we got the 2 versions of Gotan. It's where we got some alternate absorptions for Majin Buu, like when he absorbs Tenshin Han and Yamcha. That's where we got Yamahan actually for the first time, them performing the fusion there. Yamahan showed up again in Dragon Ball Fusions as well. So they were... that's what I loved about Dragon Ball Fusions is they acknowledged all of that prior stuff. They acknowledged Gotan, Yamahan, Piridin. Like if anything was official, and I think it makes sense that they didn't adopt the fan designs because that's in that weird territory of do we actually own this? Can we use it? Reusing the Gohanks name, I don't really consider it reusing because it's kind of obvious if you're going to fuse those characters together. What else do you do with those names? But that spirit of crazy fusions has been there. I would be remiss if I didn't also mention Budokai 1, Dragon Ball Z 1, when Cell absorbs Kuririn, and we get that little short orange version as well. Still waiting for him to show up in something else. But the wacky fusions, they date back far longer than 2016, far longer than 2002, 2003, when Budokai 1 and 2, somewhere around there. I love this stuff. This is what gives me life, Julian.
Right. I can definitely see that. And I think your enthusiasm really comes across.
So, I think that's just a good example of I have... again, some enthusiasm for something. I'm really excited about something. I've made it my mission to do something cool about it. And it's, all right, we know where this comes from. Let's not just document it. Let's make sure we own the primary source for it because there's not good information out there. And we'll include some imagery with it as well, in the wiki articles. I'm actually thinking, because we're recording this so early, I may do a tidbit article or something like that alongside this on the website. We'll see how much work I'm able to do with something like that, because obviously the wiki is not ready to launch right now, and that stuff's going to be included there. But I hope this gives you an idea, if you couldn't already tell, if you didn't already know, about what Kanzenshuu is about. It's, we obviously want to keep up with the new stuff, but we think there's a very, very rich history, and I used this word earlier. There's a lot of minutiae to it. It's Gohanks is a character in Dragon Ball Fusions and Dragon Ball Heroes, and it was in a fusion contest in 95. Like, there's so much more to that you can talk about, and I think it's important to talk about it. I think it's important to document it, and I think it's important for someone to do it well. So where I'm at is I'm doing those articles. Julian, there were a few, you want to talk about fusion contest. This continued for Dragon Ball Fusions, actually, and that's kind of where I'm going with this as well. They revived that idea for Dragon Ball Fusions, and they accepted fan designs. So I'm going to be doing those articles as well, just because, I actually own that stuff, and there were no good scans of that stuff online, and therefore there's no good information about it online. There's a couple Japanese blogs that kind of say what issues they were published in, but it's not all in one good place. So I owned the Psycho Jump that we had Tox, which was Trunks and Tapion. I owned the V Jump where, oh God, I forget which character it was. The one that I didn't own, I had Tox, I had Great Satan Man. The one I didn't own, the actual issue was from Weekly Shonen Jump, was Gortys, the fusion of Goku and Beerus fan design submission, which ended up getting used in the game. These three were made available through QR codes in different magazines. So Julian, in addition to everything else you've been buying, I had you buy me the issue of Weekly Jump with the chorus design. Yeah. So we'll be getting that out there. The thing I was really worried about was that was kind of like a prime time for Jump series debuts. And the issue after that is when The Promised Neverland debuted, and that issue goes for quite a bit of money. Luckily, this one did not. I was very worried that it was going to be one of those key issues, but fortunately, this one seems to have flown under the radar, so we got it pretty cheap.
I tell you, it's kind of rough picking up some of those early issues with Dragon Ball in them because you have like the first issues of things
God.
like
Kenshin.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
No, JoJo's. No.
It's a little ridiculous sometimes. And amongst there, you have like the last chapter of Kinnikuman, and before it was revived in a different magazine, all this stuff. And it's a huge era for Jump, and it's not just Dragon Ball. And we have the misfortune of sometimes we're going for these things that are important for Dragon Ball, but people are getting or angling for them from all these different fandoms, which drives the price up.
But we're doing pretty good overall, I'd say. So people are ask me often, like, all right, you're getting this stuff. What are you doing with it? We don't get to see it. So what are you doing with it? I hope this gives you a little insight into that and a tease of what we have coming. The idea is definitely to share this information. It's kind of slow going with some of it. But as I've mentioned before, I think the podcast is a good avenue for us to talk about some of this stuff before, some of these formal articles make it to the website proper. So,
oh, absolutely.
Julian, anything else to say about the Wacky Fusions? Hopefully I didn't forget any others that may have been out there in some other video games over the years. Fusions really took it and ran with it. Heroes
definitely
incorporated some of that stuff. Some of those fusions showed up there. I love that. I hope they continue. I want a sequel. But is there anything else you want to say about these?
I just find it a unique window into the franchise's history, and I think it's something that there's really a lot of room for further creativity. I would love to see a sequel for Fusions. If it's on the Switch, then I can buy it for my children so I can play it.
Yeah, I mean, where Fusions left off, we have all the other universes we can work with now. Just fuse Jiren with anyone. It's got to be weird looking, right?
Right.
Put a vest on top of that, like black and red spandex. I'm all about this.
Oh, you could fuse Broly with anybody too, right?
Well, we've already had that. We had, what was this? Oh, God. What was the character's name? Was it Kaka Broly? Broly Rot?
Oh, that's God. Right.
He's on the cover of the game. I forget what his name is.
I completely forgot about that.
Goku Black, I think, fused with him as well in the free DLC. But now we have two Brolys. Maybe Broly can fuse with Broly.
You never know. I'm still hoping that the end game for the Heroes promotional anime that they have is Super Saiyan 4 Blue Gokaroto.
Hold on to your hat. It's coming.
I'm almost certain.
All right. I don't have anything else to say. I mean, you can just hear me. I just love this stuff. This is the stuff that I love. This is what keeps me excited and enthusiastic about the series here in 2019, even though I've been into it for over 20 years. It's the old stuff. It's the stories. It's the little tidbits, that seem to come back around again because there's, the people working on the franchise these days, they're fans like us. They grew up on Toriyama, and they have a chance to do something new with it as well. And they remember all this stuff, and they have access to the archives. I think that's a beautiful thing. That all being said, www.kanzenshuu.com. That is kanzenshuu.com. I'd say what's going on right now, but who knows where I'm going to be in a week. What'll be announced, what'll be revealed. I may end up saving this for the future because I decide something else is more important, but I enjoy recording with you, Julian, and we happen to have the time this evening, and you just got in that number 19 issue, and it just seemed like the appropriate time to do it. That's me. I'm Mike. That's Julian over there. For Heath as well, who's I think busy working on a forum upgrade right now, so he couldn't join us here on the show. Those are the people. That's us. I don't know. I think that's us. Julian, wrap it up.
Yes, so thank you for listening to this next week's edition of Kanzenshuu the podcast. We'll catch you again next time.